The Coca-Cola Company did something, well, frankly, a little bit odd, but it had me thinking if this strange product development could be signaling some future strategic shift. The Coca-Cola Company is the third largest beverage portfolio company in the world. It only trails AB InBev, which most people would just call Anheuser-Busch, and Nestle. And they might be passing Nestle eventually because I think they just divested their North American waters business. But the Coca-Cola Company's product brand strategy has been singularly focused on beverages that are either in a packaged format or in a food service kind of format done through syrups or concentrates. And it could be said that the Coca-Cola Company likes to keep it simple. In fact, 70 years ago in 1941, the marketing slogan for Coca-Cola was Coca-Cola is Coke. Okay. But since I'm kind of giving a Coca-Cola Company history lesson, did you know that the Coca-Cola Company actually acquired Columbia Pictures in 1982 for $750 million, and then later flipped that over to Sony for $3.4 billion. So they got a 350 or so percent markup on that investment. But the Coca-Cola Company is not its most hated rival, PepsiCo. It's not diversified. PepsiCo owns both food or snacking divisions under the portfolios of Frito-Lay and Quaker Foods. But the Coca-Cola Company did recently launch a new product format that is neither a packaged beverage nor a food service version. So recently, Smartwater, the 25-year-old Coca-Cola Company owned kind of enhanced or value-added water company, came out with a line extension called Smartwater Plus, which has some unique kind of herbal, nutraceutical type ingredients, real extracts used in that flavor system, and is marketed towards wellness-focused consumers. And these products are Smartwater Plus Clarity, Smartwater Plus Tranquility, and Smartwater Plus Renew. And the premium water category, value-added water category, is over a $2 billion US category with almost 100% of the growth associated with consumers that are wellness minded, that are kind of keyed into hydration being a bigger part of that wellness dimension. Now, I'm assuming that the launch went extremely well, and that's because the Coca-Cola Company has kind of taken it one step further. But the one kind of limiting factor to these packaged water enhancement waters is that if you want to keep the taste extremely light, but you want to have these kind of nutraceutical or herbal ingredients at an efficacious dose, the flavor profile on that is going to be outside of like that light, refreshing taste they're going for. So there's some limitations to that package format, or at least making sure that that packaged format meets kind of the customer's expectations. So that means the Coca-Cola Company needed to look at a ready-to-mix format. While it went mostly under the radar, Smartwater Plus Powder launched on Amazon earlier this month. They interestingly did not extend the packaged beverage formats into the ready-to-mix powders. It instead went with a new lineup that includes Smartwater Plus Uplift, Smartwater Plus Recovery, and Smartwater Plus Beauty. So I'm not going to get into like the product specifics or anything like that. You guys can obviously look those ones up, but I do want to kind of break down like what is happening with the Coca-Cola Company. Like, what does this move kind of mean? Does it signal some bigger trends in the market? Also, does it maybe signal some different things that maybe the Coca-Cola Company is going to think about doing in the future? The first kind of topic that I want to talk about is around these Amazon-only launches. Now, Big CPG is finally kind of coming around to the ideology that surrounds lean startup. That is something that's been around the tech company for a while, but I've been a big advocate in the CPG industry for almost a decade. And it seems like big CPG is starting to finally kind of listen and take some of those lessons and apply that and really kind of use Amazon and the beauty of Amazon for its benefit. And just kind of discussing a little bit around why a marketplace like Amazon is important, especially for new product launches. Firstly, it's cheaper to launch on Amazon and kind of get some traction in the market, especially if you're talking about new brands, maybe new products, maybe new formats. You also have a strong kind of feedback loop mechanism that's built into Amazon with the reviews. And to me, it's a much stronger feedback loop than you would get from like test marketing or surveys done to paid participants. These are actually people buying that product and they're giving you that feedback. Now, after you get that feedback loop on Amazon, it's actually easier to iterate as well because you don't have to go through pulling a bunch of product off shelf nationally at retailers to kind of come up with maybe new packaging or new flavors or maybe formula kind of change. So Amazon is a much kind of faster, easier, cheaper way to kind of iterate through and try to figure out that product market fit. And Amazon is the most competitive retail shelf out there. And not that Coca-Cola Company really needs anybody to validate any of their products. Now, if they have a new product line across any of their brands, most national retailers are going to find some shelf space to put it on there. But if they do extremely well at that launch on Amazon, that gives them extra firepower when they're in those meetings to talk about a go-to-market strategy and have that retailer push it at a much stronger pace because they've already had market validated consumer feedback loops, product market fit, everything kind of aligns perfectly. And it gives a lot more confidence for those retailers to back a winner. Another thing is around this idea that like strikeouts mean less today. Now, if you are a baseball fan, you've been a baseball fan for quite a while, you might have noticed over the last maybe decade or so, something has drastically kind of changed. You can call this kind of the Moneyball effect. If you watched that movie or read that book, you kind of know that analytics have been infiltrated into all sports, but baseball was kind of that first area. But the idea in baseball before was that strikeouts were embarrassing, so batters should only take quality swings. Now, today, strikeouts have been proven to not matter all that much, and these big swings actually create more runs and you can actually win more games. So analytics have changed sport and it's starting to change the CPG industry as well. The market really today, with how much noise, how fast it moves, people's attention spans, people's memories, they forget about these big swings, these strikeouts. And big CPG has been historically kind of scared to use its most valuable brand IP to take some of those big swings. But because of what's kind of happening, you're going to see more big CPG brands use some of their valuable IP to look at some product extensions, brand extensions, format extensions, and a lot higher frequency in the future. So the big question is around if the Smartwater Plus powder SKUs, is this something that's just kind of short term or does it signal something bigger? Now, kind of the case for short term, and really it's logical to think about it this way, is that currently supply chain inputs, components, really hard to come by, especially in some of the packaged beverage formats. So Coca-Cola Company is thinking, hey, let's kind of try something new. You're also looking at inflationary costs on the input side, component side, and some of the powdered beverage items, especially if you're looking at like a functional or value added perspective, does have a better unit economics kind of perspective, if you want to look at it that way, especially when we're talking about online. So these kind of things offset maybe what's happening from the business environment standpoint. But you also could consider some maybe bigger, longer term things. These are plausible, honestly, because wellness is extremely hot right now. There is a huge kind of secular shift that's happening in consumer behavior with conventional purchasing shifting over to functional or value added purchasing. And the main competitor of the Coca-Cola Company, PepsiCo, does several hundreds of millions of dollars a year in ready-to-mix powders. So if we're considering some of the brands within the portfolio for the Coca-Cola Company and maybe what they could look at from powdered SKU extensions, I think the most obvious ones would be kind of looking at what PepsiCo does with Gatorade and leveraging, utilizing those within their kind of sports drinks brands. So Powerade or Body Armor. I think out of the two, Body Armor would make a lot more sense because of it being more like active nutrition, geared around sport. They have a lot of really strong athletes that they could activate in those categories. So maybe some of the powdered isotonic type of hydration electrolyte products. They could also potentially kind of shift this into protein products as well, similar to what Gatorade does. And then another kind of brand within the portfolio that is similar to Smartwater, and honestly, I can see these brands kind of merging in the future, would be the vitamin water brand. Now, the Coca-Cola Company, doesn't have all that many brands in their portfolio that maybe would make sense for ready-to-mix powders. So looking at this even one step further, could there be some mergers and acquisitions interest for the Coca-Cola Company to extend further into powders? Could the Coca-Cola Company look at the supplement or active nutrition industry and kind of highlight names that would be interesting to them to acquire? Now, I think this idea is a little bit kind of out there, but I think the category that would be most interesting for the Coca-Cola Company to look at powdered, ready to mix kind of powders would be the energy category. They don't really have any like non-tea or non-coffee brands that really would have any authority in the market to launch a powdered energy beverage, outside of maybe what I mentioned with Body Armor. But I don't think any of them would really make all that much material revenue creation if they did launch an energy type SKU. Energy powders do have about a third of the total addressable market that energy drinks, packaged energy drinks have. So it's a large category. It's fast growing, very similar kind of high single digit year over year growth rate that the energy beverages have. And it's no secret that the Coca-Cola Company desperately wants to have more exposure in the energy category, obviously going through all of the mediation and things to get Coca-Cola Energy out in the global market, but then kind of pulling that back after it didn't work. The category is very attractive for the Coca-Cola Company, despite them obviously having a ton of market value by owning 15 to 20% or so of the Monster Beverage Corporation. But there is an exclusivity clause that is a part of that relationship. But a ready-to-mix powder, I don't know the contract, but maybe that sidesteps that exclusivity a little bit and gives them more exposure in the market, maybe gives them a little bit of a stronger footing, interest in that energy market, that then gives them some optionality in the future, depending on how that relationship with Monster Beverage Corporation goes in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this particular video. If you have any questions about the Coca-Cola Company, maybe some ready-to-mix beverage opportunities, anything like that, I would love if you guys comment on this content or reach out to me on any of my social media accounts.